Welcome back to Moments of Truth. I'm Andrew Marks, co-founder of Success Hacker, and today I have with me Toby Lucich, partner and founder at Return Leverage. Toby, why don't you tell the folks out there who aren't familiar with you what you guys do?
Well, thanks for having me on, Andrew. Good to be chatting with you again. Return Leverage does project management and organizational change consulting. So we're deep in those spaces and come in and lend the extra muscle to clients that have big initiatives, oftentimes transformations that they need some leadership and support around.
Transformation. You're all about transformation.
Transformation, yes.
And in the concept of transformation, we talk about customer success managers in their role needing to be really well organized, being able to marshal different things through different steps, whether it's a project or a success plan or what have you. So one of the things that we've always felt that we've recognized is customer success managers should have some sort of understanding, exposure to project management, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to be PMP or PMI certified.
I totally agree. Yeah. I think as professionals, we're always going through some transformation, right? Individually. And I myself led a series of projects for large clients before I took the time to get that particular certification, but I had an inherent bias towards chunking up work, getting really clear about the outcomes and being comfortable chasing people down. And so, if somebody's wired that way a little bit anyway, then it's really about bringing some tools to bear. I think that when somebody finds a passion, then the training has more purpose. But too often we can race into chasing a certification because the job market demands it. I would say for CSM professionals that staying focused on the core discipline and becoming very expert there is absolutely the path I would take. And there's just enough project management in terms of tools that gets them down the path. And to your point, lots of good tools like success plans and account management tools. So yeah, it's how we apply it. It's really about delivery in a sequence.
Right, exactly. And that's why, one of the reasons why we worked with you to develop this accidental project manager program course that we've put on our platform. Let's talk a little bit about
Sure.
that and how that plays a part in the customer success manager getting that extra instruction that they are going to be able to use to help.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that the world of the CSM is pretty rich with tools, both technical and then whether it's crib sheets or plans or one pagers. But oftentimes when serving clients that are more familiar with structured project, it's nice to be familiar also with the language they know and use. And so the module really touches on those most basics. There's the idea of the triple constraint, which is managing a certain scope within a certain timeline and on a budget. And we already know this, right?
The triangle, right?
The triangle.
Right. You can only move it certain ways.
That's it. And so, we've taken some time to introduce a really simple analogy that I hope is useful for folks. But, the version that I would say here is if I ask folks to imagine a tree, then we're all going to picture something very different, right? And so project management fundamentals is about making sure everybody's seeing the same tree and understanding the same use case or the same challenges to knocking it down. So anyway, we do talk through those basic terms, put some context.
It's getting everybody on the same page, right? Which is an important aspect of managing people project. Let's make sure we're talking about the same thing.
That's it. Yeah. We also share in this, it's just a 1 hour course. It gets into the idea of of what needs to happen at the outset during initiation versus what's the heavy lifting. For our clients, oftentimes they feel like the negotiation and the demos and finally selecting a product is where all of the work takes place. That's really when we just start to kick it off and turn their requirements into a functioning version of our product. And so we lay out a map to help guide users through that. Make sure that when you get to the time of go live, when that implementation's ready, that your customers are there with you and that the tasks are complete. I think you kind of mentioned this a second ago. It's the expectation management that helps you lay that out in a sequential way.
Yeah, and expectation management is huge. I mean, that's we talk about it, we teach about it. How managing expectations is a big part of this job, and so when you when you approach that in a more rigorous way, like you would with project management, it allows you to set those expectations appropriately and make sure everybody's on the same page and keep everybody on the same page.
Absolutely. We also talk and share a template. It's kind of a project one pager, and this is something that we use with clients. And I think that the value of this tool is that as an implementation professional, it's something you can give to not just your lead, but also to your executive sponsor, that just kind of lays out some timeline and specifies the scope. And probably as important as any of it, it starts to name the most common risks that you as a CSM have discovered in working with past clients. It's not the things we plan for, it's the little gotchas that we learn over time. And when we can be explicit about those up front, then our clients feel super smart, and they also do a better job of not stepping in the potholes on our way to getting things up and running and getting to first value. So I'm hoping that folks will find that valuable when they do the course.
Well, I think that's incredibly valuable. The first of all, beginning with the end in mind, always very important, but ignoring risk is not a good strategy for dealing with it. Right. It really is. And we're much better surfacing that now so we can mitigate it, so we can avoid it.
Yeah. Try as we might, it doesn't necessarily make it go away to ignore it. So
no, it doesn't. Yeah. How
If-
about I would think also, some of the things that actually that we teach in success planning as well as success execution, which is equally important in just, basic project management, is the accountability angle, right?
Yeah.
Not just your team, but your customer as well.
No, that's a really good call out. When we all know what our role and obligation is, how we're going to be accountable to this shared body of work, it becomes really clear about how we move things forward. And I think that approach, that bias towards transparency, serves any professional well. Whether it's CSM tools that help us lay out who owns the task or accountability, or more traditional project management materials, when we can make it explicit and put it on paper, it gets us out of the he said, she said debate. It's just very objective and clean.
Well, and I also think that transparency takes this, even though it's on paper, just being transparent about what we're going to do, setting appropriate expectations, highlighting potential risk areas. More than anything, it leaves the impression especially with your customer that, hey, these people know what they're talking about. And they've got an approach, they've got a process, and what that does is it improves the relationship, it broadens the relationship, especially if this is that first, like the onboarding piece of things where you are just getting started. It allows you to build the relationship up, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to get to a point where you have to go to the paper. Right.
Amen.
If you've got to go to the paper, if we got to go to the contract, there is a serious breakdown in the relationship.
Yeah, that's when we know that we're off our path, right? So you make a really good point. Right at the outset, somebody's just made what may be perceived as a high risk choice, right? They choose your product over the competing product. the very best thing you can do is give them every reason to be confident that they made the right choice.
Exactly.
And showing up as a professional that understands what it takes to be effective, how implementation is going to play out. Boy, nothing feels better than knowing that somebody's already navigated those headaches for you, and you just have to follow their lead.
Oh, this person showed up with a plan. Hey,
Imagine
that's
that.
great. Right? Oh my God, somebody showed up with a plan. Right? And ideally it's a plan that's been, tweaked and massaged to fit into my, what I'm trying to achieve, because it's not about your generic plan. It's about me and what I'm trying to do. But
Absolutely.
yes, it builds a tremendous level of confidence. And once again, that's like just basic project management,
It
right?
is.
It really is basic project management. That's what I love that that we worked with you on this accidental project manager course, because it's, what is it? It's an hour.
It's an hour.
It's an
Yeah, it's an
hour
hour.
of content, and it just gives you, here's the key things you need to know to not, to not step in a hole and twist your ankle, right?
Absolutely. Well, and you make a really good point too, that the best plans are ones that we continue to refine and retool. And so the intention in a 1 hour course isn't to make somebody an expert, or to get them that PMP certification to go be a project leader in a Fortune 50 company. What we're really trying to do is help them create some crib notes and some logic that just makes them more confident in serving their clients. Gives them some of the key language that makes those executives feel comfortable that they're going to get the value out of their investment.
And if they're working with an implementation team, if you're a CSM but you have a separate implementation team, it still gives you kind of this leg up, because you understand the language of whoever's project managing that project, right? And you're able to be part of that conversation, which, if as the CSM responsible for ensuring that the customer is getting value, you need to do that. That's a role that you need to own, and it will make you that much more comfortable with the customer, or the customer that much more comfortable with you.
That's a big point. Somebody has to do the code switching. Somebody has to speak both languages, right? And being very expert at your own product is fantastic. But as soon as we start talking about working with implementation teams that work in a different language altogether, or your clients, if they're trying to implement your technology and it has integrations, those IT teams, they don't speak CSM, right? They don't understand the language of your product. What they talk about all day is, how do we successfully get it in? How do we test it and know that it's going to work when we actually flip the switch and start to take care of business? And so just a grasp of what that language is will endear the CSMs to those IT teams in an invaluable way. So,
back in the long time ago's, before SaaS, when we were dealing with, pure on-prem,
yeah.
I held a role as a businessman, as a business analyst and project manager for one of the very early CRM software companies. And my job was to translate, and I wasn't, although I had taught myself how to program when I was a kid, I'd taken a different path in school. After one semester of COBOL, I was like, get this. And I got into marketing, but I had this role of being that translator, right? Being that person that interacted with the customer to make sure that they were getting what they needed out of what we were doing, and then translated all of what the customer requirements were to my back-end development team, who were doing all the customization work and doing all the integration work. And see, so I've been doing customer success for my entire freaking career. That was a long time ago. We won't say how long ago, but it definitely predates.
A couple days ago.
Predates SaaS. Yeah.
No, I resemble that. I remember, in that world too, you only had people on site for a limited time. I mean, this is back when you had to pay for long distance phone calls.
Yeah.
And boy, so what's interesting though, and we touch on this a little bit, and the bigger the investment, the more important good requirements become.
Yep.
And I think that clients so oftentimes are really focused on their piece of the business. And I'm going to go back to this integrated world. Today, people are buying applications that fit a very specific need in a really specific niche. And that only is going to work when it plugs into their ecosystem, right? We see that increasingly. People want to manage their data out of a warehouse. They want to use dashboards to communicate to their executives. The only way all that comes together is when really clear requirements are captured, but then also that you've built a plan to test them before releasing. And I think that, 20 plus years of project management has taught me that the best requirements gathering is useless if you don't know how to test it on the back end.
Oh God, yeah.
And that's where implementation teams and CSMs that focus on a single product are going to be hands down more expert when they pay attention to all the little quirky requests that come up. The first and second and third time you see it, it's still kind of novel. Maybe it's one off, but when you start to add that into your catalog of potential squirrel cases or test scripts that you might have to pull up, you now look like more than just a competent partner. You're an expert in your space. So that's the guy I love to work with, right? They're going to tell me about the things I haven't thought about once I describe the lay of the land.
And it's so important. I mean, I can't agree with you more how important it is. Because if you roll that thing out, right, and it doesn't perform as expected, if something breaks or something doesn't happen the way that the customer or their end users were expecting or wanted to achieve their outcome, you are going to have a horrendous time trying to drive adoption. Why should I adopt this thing? It doesn't do what we needed it to do. I have seen that. I've seen that recently. Somebody who's very close to me went through this with a very large cloud-based back office B2B software delivered by a top consulting company that you would recognize. I'm not going to name any names. But this thing was, it was for okay, I'm not even going to say what department it is. It's become too apparent. But it was, this person, I'm speaking to this person on a regular basis, and they're telling me about what's happening with this deployment. And they did every single thing wrong. They deployed, they didn't do the testing, they did horrible project management, they did terrible requirements gathering. It was a giant goat rodeo.
Well, it's in this day and age, information it's a button stroke away.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned adoption a second ago, and some of the folks that might be listening to this are familiar with the work that we've done together around organizational change management.
Right, the change management.
What effective adoption looks like. And what's really ironic is that adoption isn't when the system is configured and people need to start learning how to push buttons.
No.
Adoption happens during those very first demos, during those very first calls and discussions of the product. And so the magic of getting to implementation in my mind is if you've done that work well, you've already established yourself as a trustworthy organization. And now you're just confirming that. And so the more that people are investing in those requirements and getting engaged, the power of a sandbox. I mean, how often do you think, gosh, if only we could test drive this or try functionality? It's those little things up front, and free trial solves a lot of the sandbox issues.
Yeah.
Right. But what a difference the world makes. And those are the kinds of errors people can't afford anymore, because the switching costs are much lower in a SaaS environment than they were when you had to buy $100,000 worth of servers.
So true. And you had to hire people to train them, and everybody talks about how SaaS is a low barrier to entry. Well, I always remind them, well, it's a low barrier to exit as well, right? So don't forget that, right? It's not simple, but it's a heck of a lot easier than when you had to spin up 3 different instances of servers. We got our production, our test, our development server, and then we got to hire all these people to manage all that stuff and train them, and then go through the whole. That's all in the past. So it's a low barrier to entry. It's a low barrier to exit as well. So don't screw it up.
When if somebody's going to have a complaint, If you implement a product and it doesn't work, there's absolutely no reason their complaint should be professional services fell down or they didn't do the tasks that were necessary. If anything, you want them to walk away and say, our use case doesn't fit, but we tried. Maybe it's not that ideal fit, and that's legitimate. But today you shouldn't be falling down over small things.
It is legitimate, but it's not. Okay, it's legitimate. It's a legitimate excuse, but that's also, if that's happening a lot with a particular company, then you need to take a step back and say, do we really know what our ideal customer profile is? Right? Because we are selling to the wrong ICP if we've got lots of these situations where this wasn't a good fit and we're trying to force fit something in. Now, if you're trying to force fit something in to gain entry into a vertical, right, that you're not currently in, okay, then do it, use it for that purpose, and adjust your software so it becomes a good fit for that customer, because your intention is to make it a good fit for other customers like that customer.
That's a really good call out. I think a good project plan is a lot like a journey map. It should be pretty predictable. And if you're intentionally entering a new space, then you know that there's going to be a corner in the path and you haven't seen around that corner before. But if you're calling out that these are the customers we want, and we keep taking it on the nose at every implementation and every engagement, then it's a misfit on the front end.
Yeah, you need to take a step back and take a look at that and go, are we really doing the right thing here?
Absolutely.
Toby, as usual, thank you. Always a good conversation. But I definitely appreciate it. And for those listening, check out Toby's Accidental Project Manager course that we've got on the platform.
Really good. Hey, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it.